Welcome to another edition of Strange New Pod. I am your friendly Tellarite Wakerbot. Full name, please. And Fleet Admiral Julian Brown alongside the best bridge crew. This side of Teller Prime, we have Vice Admiral Eric, who after this one, I think just wants to give Rock a big, big hug.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't want to give Rock a big, big hug? That's absolutely right.
She's not a monster.
Not a monster at all. Commander Hawk is here, and he's divine for the diviner. We're ways away from Valentine's Day, but you could put that on a Valentine's Day card. I'm just saying. Divine for the diviner.
Oh.
Aww.
And vindicating for the Vindicator.
Vindicta, something with Vindicta and the Vindicator, like celebrity deathmatch. And finally, Captain Giraffe is here, who I have to assume was losing it all over the Medusans.
Hive mind, baby. Hive mind.
Cool. This week's episode. Welcome back, guys. How we doing today? How we doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Good to middling good.
I'm waiting for the every week Eric shrug. I also want to give a quick welcome to two newbies watching from the collective for the first time live tonight. Welcome to Rude Parakeet and Matt Harker, first time live watchers. It is a pleasure to have you and the rest of our collective here tonight. As always, good folks, give us your comments, questions all night long in the YouTube chat. We are going to be talking a lot about this one. This is a fun episode, guys. I really like this one. Speaking of this week, it is literally, as the episode alludes to, Prelude week. Get backstories for everybody. Rock, Jankom Zero, the diviner, and now as we know her, yes, Julian was wrong. Yes, Giraffe is right. The
and
Vindicator
Eric,
and Eric. Well, Eric, which one of you was it? Eric or Giraffe who said that they thought it was going to be like cells?
Me. That was me.
You. So
yeah, cells. Yeah.
And
nice job on that, by the way.
The T1000s.
So Eric was right more than Giraffe this week, I think. So
I mean, I was agreeing with Eric. You know, like
I just really wanted it.
Team Eric.
Yeah, I was team losing side as always. That's okay. Though Eric said, I can't talk about that. Never mind. I'm going to shut my mouth now. So we're going to break all those backstories down. It's going to be a blast. But first, Giraffe, we need to thank our patron collective at the Ready Room level and above.
Thank you, dear patrons. Thank you, Simon Stagger, Jeff Reeve, Maria Gossett, Tallulah, Jen Stein, Tina Alexander, Joe Saporito, Noe Santos, Kung Hui, Takako Nagumo, Kara Kennedy, Mark, Fernanda Nogales, SMK, Laura Linderman, Colin Davidson, Aline Davis, Shotterhand 2049, Jesco, MC Fortis, Michael Graham, Emily and Travis, Gildara, Cassie, Raul, Holiday, glory to your house.
And glory to yours as well.
Thank you. Wayne Ritz. No, I lost the line. Oh, Maggie Light, the ghost of Mission Seattle feature.
Too soon.
Too soon, man. Too soon. Wayne Ritz, second time. 2 for you. Scott of Arc, Sean, Jay Howard, Mahelani Uchiyama, Matt Harker, Joshua Lewis, Cassie McIntosh, and we have a new patron that I don't see on the document because it didn't update, but no?
Weird.
It didn't update? I have it.
No,
welcome David Willett to the collective. Yay.
Sorry, it didn't
That's because Giraffe's internet.
It's there. Hawk.
Giraffe's internet stinks. That's the answer.
Hey.
I'm calling you out, girl. No, I'm kidding. Your internet doesn't stink. Speaking of Ghost of Seattle's future, this isn't in the outline, but I'm just going to announce it now because it's official one way or the other. We're waiting to hear back whether we're going to have a panel/podcast, but either way, we're all going to Trek Long Island, baby. Actually, I shouldn't say Eric and Hawk. I hope you guys are coming to Trek Long Island in May. That would be awesome.
I'm trying, but I don't know.
Okay, I thought you were 100.
Hard to go there.
I thought you were 100%. I thought you were 100%.
No, I want to, but like, there's no flight and stuff. It's very complicated.
Well, you fly to Philly, you carpool with me and Fefe, and we're good. It'll be fun. We'll all kill each other on the way. It'll be great. No, we are going to Trek Long Island. It is going to be very fun up in Hop Hog. So we will have stuff planned out for that. That is, I think, going to be the first, besides LA Con, which you're going to this weekend, Giraffe, the first con of 2023. So we'll see how
No,
it
there's
goes.
WonderCon before.
Oh, there's WonderCon. Okay, so WonderCon as well. Giraffe,
Yes.
you have some news.
Yes. So we've ordered the magnet for the patrons. There's a post on our Patreon. The magnet looks super, super cool. I cannot wait. So you will have an extra little bonus present for the end of the year very soon. And I'm gonna be at LACon too. Gonna slide that in there. I'm going there tomorrow. I'm gonna be there all weekend for the cosplay national championship and the convention. So stay tuned. I'm gonna try to post as much as I can on our social media platforms.
Nice. Giraffe, you should also mention that magnet that's going out to every single one of our patrons is a gift from you. It is not
It's a gift from
It is
me.
a gift from Giraffe. So it's very
a
important
gift
to
from
know.
Giraffe. Yes, designed by Eric.
Yep. And if you've seen it, it's fucking
It's really
amazing.
cute.
Oh, it's freaking amazing. It's freaking
Yes.
amazing.
No, it's cute.
So good. It's cute. It is really cute. It is really cute.
I was
Other
going to
news.
do 1, and then I was like, no, 5 is better.
Captain Picard week, we have some pods to announce, returning and new pods. So we'd like to welcome for Captain Picard week coming in February. Welcome back Earth Station Trek, Trek Untold, and
Le
Promenade
Cadran Pop.
Merchants podcast.
Yeah. and
What's
Le
up?
Cadran Pop. Le Cadran Pop. Our French
Look,
friends.
oh yeah, I thought didn't we say that already last time?
No, I
didn't
don't think we said it
No?
last time. No.
Okay, well, we'll go over the full list then real quick. So we have Duras Sisters, Where's Bev, Le Quadrant Pop, Earth Station Trek, Promenade Merchants podcast, Trek Untold, and we're announcing 2 new podcasts right now that were not part of last year's, and we are very, very excited to announce that Trexperts Quiz is joining us for Captain Picard Week, and Crusher Convo are joining us for Captain Picard Week in February. So very excited to have them on board. Applications are still open. They are running all the way through January. So good stuff. I think January 25th. That seems like a very late date, but I think that's what we agreed on. So that could change. But January 25th, get your applications in. Anything else? Any other announcements?
We have happy hour next week.
I am hosting Happy Hour next week from 7 p.m. Eastern, a true happy hour, up until 9, half an hour before we start the pod. It is going to be fun. I am also going to be doing the day before on Instagram a holiday-themed cocktail video live. I'm going to be your guest mixologist for the evening over on Instagram. So check that out. And then we just decided this off the pod. We're going to be making a $150, $200, Eric? $200? $200.
$100.
Yeah, 200, man.
$200
go.
donation
Yeah.
to Girls Who Code. So thank you to everybody who ordered a pin. You could still order one. We'll throw the link in the chat if we can get it. It's somewhere. But that's awesome as well. Let's get to it, guys. It's the Strange New Loop. And with all the preludes and everybody's backstories in this week's episode, the question to you tonight is, what would be your Trek backstory? Go.
You know what's funny is that you told us to read this. So that we
Read it
can
and you
see
didn't, and you didn't, and you didn't do it.
But you know what? I have one. Because my backstory would be like Sarah Silverman's character from Voyager. I would be a person out of time that would be there to help a ship just because, you know, through accidents. I love that whole being pulled out of time and, you know, being out of your element, but being there at the right time, right place, just so that you could help out with people in a dangerous situation. I think that's a really cool idea. That's what I want to be, stuck in a Jeffries tube.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Mine was very similar to that, a person at a time in that, but it was more akin to the story of Buck Rogers than it was to, you know, Sarah Silverman's character.
That's true. She wasn't really pulled in the future anyway. She was helping them in the past.
Yeah. She gets it. She's
Yeah.
Sarah Silverman. One-man probe sent out to further space and that in the late 21st century. Gets knocked off its orbit, goes into a cryosleep, wakes up 500 years later. That'd be my backstory.
So the Botany
You're
Bay,
Khan?
basically. Yes.
Buck Rogers was a hero.
So is Khan to his people.
To
One
his
brain cell.
people.
One brain cell.
Oh my god.
What wouldn't you do for your family?
Kirk.
Family.
Kirk. I always loved the way he said Kirk in the movie. What wouldn't you do for your family, Kirk?
Pack.
Kirk. It was very borderline going on cock, but it's Kirk.
Hey, PG man, come on.
That's what we have the bleep button for. Eric's taught me that.
That's true.
It's true.
We'll learn this later in the episode too.
Yep.
I think I'd have something like, Doll, or what is guy like Simon, like unknown origin person, lying about where I'm from or what I am or etc. Maybe I don't know myself, and that's what my character should be trying to find out. I like that idea. I like that idea, pretending to be a half Vulcan when you're actually Romulan.
Half
I really-
Romulan. I like it. I like it. Over in the YouTube chat, let us know what your Trek backstories might be if you have one. For me, I think that I would incorporate a lot of like my past. I think that I would be like the Starfleet screw up. I think that like I'd make some really poor decisions at a youth. I'd try to go through Starfleet Academy.
Okay, Mariner.
Yeah. I am kind of the mariner in this. Like I didn't really know my place. And now like I'm in this place, and I would take a little bit of like my real backstory and do a little bit of the show if you watch it on ABC, Nathan Fillion, the rookie, and I'd become like the oldest Starfleet ensign and like try and rank up. Cause like I'm in like a place where like I want to do something with myself now that the kids are growing up. I'm like, what do I do? Oh, I guess I'll join Starfleet. Yeah. So yeah, that's.
Are you sure you wouldn't wake up from cryosleep too early and then try and fix things?
Wow. Oh, I hate you.
Is it your birthday or something?
Thanks,
What is
Giraffe.
it?
Thanks, Giraffe, for putting that idea in everybody's head before we
that was-
recorded.
You need to explain to people now.
No, they have no. They don't need to know.
They
don't
absolutely
need
need to know. So
No.
backstory. I was. He's gonna be angry at me, but it's a compliment, man.
It is. Go ahead. Tell your story.
We were watching the show, the episode, today's episode at home, and my husband just sees Jankom's backstory and goes like, "That's Julian," and I'm like, "Why is that Julian?" And then he goes, "Well, he's like fixing everything. Well, like you guys are just like doing whatever, and and he's like keeping all the thing together so nobody dies." And I'm like, True. That's kind of true. So here you go.
And I will say, this is, before we get into it, this is the first episode that I really actually felt something for Jankom Pog.
Right?
So,
Yeah.
Right?
He's an old man. He's an old man.
Yeah. Julian Pog, fix it. Thanks, Wiener. Jesco writes, I don't mind having a chill, peaceful life in the Federation out of harm's way with lovely alien friends. That sounds great. I like that. Just sip on Romulan ale by the beach all day, like on Ryza. Yeah. It sounds
I'm waiting
good.
for these bottles. Like,
I got to order mine now that I got some cash. So, yeah. And if I do, I think Giraffe, we should, once you get your bottle, we should do a taste test, like live. That'd be fun.
I'll be dressed as a Romulan. I'll be the most interesting Romulan in the quadrant.
I like it. Oh, like the Dos Equis guy? The most interesting man in the world. Oh, man. Anything else, guys? On the strange new loop, Ryza, here I come. That's right, Jesco.
Yeah.
Let's get to our review of Star Trek Prodigy episode 116, Preludes. This was a fun one, guys. Our roundtable order tonight is going to go Giraffe, Hawk, Eric, followed by myself. We're just going to go backstory. We're going to start with that giant teddy bear that we love so much. Rock Talk. Giraffe, what did you think of Rock's backstory?
They keep adding layers to these characters. I I don't know what to do anymore. Like we already love them, we already feel for them, and then it goes like worse and worse and worse, but better and better and better somehow. Like it's such an Oliver Twist kind of Don Quixote too, a little bit. Backstory. There's so many references. Like for me, it was the old man was such a Don Quixote, and at the same time, like the bowl of goop was such Oliver Twisty.
It was. It really was.
And the fact that she does all that, not understanding anything, like I really want at the end of Prodigy to rewatch just the whole thing and focus on language and how from her voice changes through the translator. It's so good. And the bowl of Nutri-Group and how she just they sell her.
Oh
they
yeah.
sell her. And what does she say? She says, and then they sent me away or something like this. And I was like,
well, I wrote this in my notes draft. I mean, she basically traded one form of slavery for another, right? Like doing that show with him, even though that they were buds and she was fed and she had a roof under her head, that was still slavery. Like, you know, she didn't have freedom.
Think a lot of like
it's like a circus.
Carnies, you know, a circus.
Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the fun family somehow, but somehow they use you. That really made me think of circus, like how it's depicted, because I've never worked in a circus, so I don't know.
But I mean this in the best of ways, because I'm not trying to insinuate anything, but isn't Rock in that situation one of the circus animals that doesn't have a choice because no one can understand her? So she basically is a slave in that situation.
I don't know if you can say that she's enslaved there, because we don't know how, like, when did she start?
Yeah. Right.
Was she born there? I mean, and she, well, that's the thing too, because like in Prodigy you have such a analysis of abuse too. That these kids, that's all that they knew, and somehow this is something that they've come to accept. And that's the same thing with Rock Talk. Like in Onta Samoa, we know she's enslaved, absolutely. Yes. And here it's an emotional enslavement, because she does like the old man and she does think that she has a purpose, but we see it through another prism as she's a kid and she doesn't have a choice, but she's in a quadrant where anything could happen to her basically, and she's still safe, but clearly at the end we realize that yes, she's enslaved because she's sold, but a little bit like you see kids being sold too. And I mean, again, Prodigy has been so I don't know, refined in the way they're touching these subjects through the eyes of this kid. It's very well written again, and it bears a lot of sensibility, and you can really see this through so many different angles. But beautiful backstory. I mean, I didn't think I could like Rock Talk even more, and now I like her even more.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Hawk.
To Aaron J. Volke and all the writers there, I already love Rock Talk. I already felt bad for Rock Talk and that, and this is just this just pulled my heart out of my chest watching her backstory, and that it was a very good parallels and that the Oliver Twist and that comparison. That another comparison you can make would be to the Elephant Man and John Merrick's story. Yeah, it's like kept in a cage there to frighten children and amaze everyone, and that and they just assumed that they were like like a mute or couldn't even speak, and that, and but underneath that was like an intelligent, sensitive, and sweet person. It was great. The direction of that whole thing was fantastic. When you see the change happen and that, where she gets a little bit of joy being like, putting on a comedy act rather than fighting the old man and that, and just that close up they did of the Latinum bars changing hands and that, and then you see the Kazon officer, and oh my God, this one just like for the first backstory out of the gate for this episode, and it was heartbreaking.
And it adds 2 layers to the Nutri group.
Yeah. Yep. It does.
Yep.
Eric.
I love Rock Talk, right? But really, like, I watched this again with my kids, so the fact that she was sitting there is like, why is she stuck there? And I had to explain this whole idea. What came to mind when I saw this the first time was the whole idea of human zoos back in like early, like 100 or more years ago. Maybe not even that long.
I mean, the last one were in the 60s, so...
Yeah, I know. I was going to say not even that long, but like it's heartbreaking to think about it. It's like Elephant Man was a great example, Hawk, about like they're also a person. Like that was one of his main lines was I am
not an animal. I am a human being.
But you can also draw parallels to Pinocchio, like when he was used as like a showpiece and he didn't realize that people were making fun of him because he was there to entertain people. Like it's heartbreaking to see this innocent little kid just go through all of that. And then I also think about the hero, like in air quotes, because is he there too because he's enslaved? Was he there because of debts or something? Like he looked really sad that she left. Like it was his only friend in there, or at least
and he's
sort of
not
companion.
the one getting the money.
Yeah.
No,
he's also owned there, right? Like he gets paid in food. I don't know if he got half the food that Rock did when they did that little comedic act, but I would assume so. Like he was part of it. Let me see what else I have on my notes. But oh man, how could you?
It makes me. That's that episode in Voyager with the fighters. That didn't make me think of
the
that.
episode that The Rock is
The
in.
Rock?
Yeah, with the Rock. Yeah. I don't remember the name of it.
It's so weird to think of The Rock as Star Trek alumni.
That's when they had that UPN deal because SmackDown was on UPN and Voyager was on UPN. They're like, shared network. We got to get The Rock on. Oh man, I love it.
I do wonder, like Giraffe, like was she born? I would love to know more. Like this episode really whet my appetite to find out more about each of these characters. Like we saw her, like we don't even know how old she really is, right? So
well, yeah, and she's a lot older now too, which is
exactly
crazy.
So I would love to see how she got there, and like, or if she was born there or something. Like there's got it. She I don't know. Like it just made me want to know more because I love her, and this made me love her more.
Jess in the chat writes, I think this pod is the Rock support team. Yeah, I mean, I think we all love Rock Talk.
Tsunkatse, thank you. That's the name of the episode. Yeah, good job, Tara.
Nice. This household is a Rock household. We all love Rock Talk so much. This got me, man. Like it was obviously like it's cool to see all their backstories, but I mean, it's tragic and it's heartbreaking. And I think the writers did an incredible job. I think Eric and Hawk both said it, like the old man, like you feel for both of them because he's not, it's not like he's her, like her boss or, like ahead of her, like they're on the same level, but like you could tell from all his facial expressions that he has a deep care for her and to see her get sold. I mean, oof.
Could you imagine if they had been there long enough that he felt like a father figure to her?
Oh yeah, I think that's it to a point.
I do think too that they are the two aliens there because they're owned by a Bolivian and she's sold to a Kazon, and I think the human is as exotic, if you want, as Rocktag. I do think he's like in the same kind of mock-up of what they think a human is. And I wanted to say too, like you see all the scars on Rocktag that she still has,
yes,
which are like the scars from the blade.
Yeah.
And that's like sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's just she's young, right? Like that's like the really hard pill to swallow with all this things. Like she's a kid, and she may not be a kid anymore after the events of the temporal anomaly episode, but I mean,
she might still be though, right?
She might still be, right? Yeah, it's crazy, and I loved getting to know more of her, and like Eric said, like I want more of this. Like I want to know what happened before this. I want to know, if Rock ever had a family like before this, or if she was basically sold to the circus, if this is slavery, or if her parents were part of the circus and maybe they died, or
She's the
I
Dumbo
wanna
of her
know.
family?
Yeah, she's the Dumbo of her. Exactly.
Oof.
That's another great example. Holy crap. I want to know more. It's a really emotional scene. This whole episode's emotional, but it got me. Anything else on Rock before we move on?
No, but I need to address that it's not Tara that said Tsunkatse.
It was
first, but
Matt. Matt did say it first. Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
guys.
Both of you though. Good pickups. Good pickups. Let's get to Zero's backstory. Zero the Medusan giraffe.
I love Medusan so much.
I know.
So first of all, that's where there were like so many Easter eggs too. Like the goggles, the Spock goggles the Kazans are wearing, and like the is there in truth no beauty box where they put Zero, and man, they did him dirty. They just left him here like that's so bad. Like poor Zero. And I like to see that Zero always has this inquiring mind and curious mind, and that's what doomed them somehow. But yeah, I was yet again the Medusan just left them by themselves to fend for themselves outside with the Kazan. They fled. And I feel that's what happened to every single one of them. Like, they just been abandoned by their own family. And the other thing that we don't know is that I think Zero is, I don't know, an adult? Is Zero an adult?
I think Zero's an adult, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Zero and Jankom are both adults.
But we see them in that little like part as a child. Like they're smaller, they're looking at the little insect, and I wonder how long Zero has been with the diviner, because we see Gwendala, but is she young? Like I have many questions.
I assumed that the Medusans there were adults and they were just curious, and it wasn't like child curiosity with the insects. It was just like they're appreciating the stop that they've made and appreciating nature as a like collective.
Yeah,
So,
I just love the animation too, the floating colors, the vibration of how they are represented, because I mean, we see Zero in their containment thingy, and in Is There in Truth No Beauty, we see them in the box. I mean, it's not Zero, but like we see Medusan in the box, but we never get to really experience the Medusan as a people, I suppose. Like, yeah, it was cute. And Kazans are mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
glad
very
that-
mean. Yep. Hawk, yep.
Yep. Again, an equally tragic backstory in that it's really hard to quantify, like with the Medusans and that, like the concepts of like age and everything and that. From what I understand, they were explorers, and that this was the whole thing. They were just out there, like, just visiting the galaxy and just seeing everything that they could see, which kind of suggests, more of an adult mind. But
Or they could be nomadic, right?
exactly, yeah,
True.
yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, the Kazons were mean, but not just that, but like, they're very, like, the way they were, like, they're very professional in what they're doing. They're very experienced hunters, like, like knowing, like, hunting Medusans and that. Somebody brought up
Having the box.
Having the box,
yeah. I think Matt mentioned in the thing here, interesting how shock prods could paralyze Zero, but the Borg couldn't in that. But yeah,
But the Romulans paralyzed Zero with a shock.
That's true.
Same way.
Yep.
Yeah.
That, and it's like they knew that to have the visors and everything. So there's obviously, like, these Kazons have been doing, like, hunting Medusans for a long time. That they could develop these kinds of techniques to do it.
Which is also interesting because up until Voyager, the Kazon hadn't heard of, like, I mean, I assume the Medusans are Alpha Quadrant species. Like, we're talking about the Kazon who have only been in the Delta Quadrant. So that also is, like, are they being supplied by someone besides the Diviner? Like, did Seska give them, like, a Cardassian hook? It's all like, that's a little weird to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
and seeing them like just abandoned, by the rest. I mean, like the others fled because they knew, like, they would probably be next. Zero almost made it to the ship and that, but like it's again, I think like the commonality here is that each of these kids has a tragic backstory, and that they were part of a family and that, and then ended up getting separated at some point or another. Yeah. So,
well, and they have families too that are kind of questionable.
Mm-hmm.
Dal's family is, I don't remember her name, the Ferengi who sold him.
Oh, that's right.
Rakta got sold too. Zero
almost
got
all of them
abandoned.
got sold, right? And
Yeah.
Jankom got picked up. Yeah.
The unwanted.
I thought this, again, equally tragic. That the Medusans are so, like, such a beautiful race in this sequence. Like, just seeing them in the mist or just floating around exploring, it was heartbreaking, again, to be separated from this family or this group of explorers, and then they had to leave her, them. It's sort of Hawk, nautical disaster, when they say that they counted a number of people on the boat, and so they had to leave behind people. Like, that's what this reminded me of. Like, they had to ship off, or else they could have all gotten captured. It's understandable, if not heartbreaking. Sorry, Hawk.
For you Americans, and that nautical disaster is a song from the Tragically Hip,
which is Canada's rock band.
See, I didn't even blink. I was like, I don't know what that is, but okay. I'll Google that later. It's fine.
I'll send you the song later. It's a gorgeous song.
Thank you.
And man, to think that the Kazon were so prepared for this. Like, did the Medusans all go on this? Is this like a trip that they go on? They're like,
don't you think that the Kazons were maybe commissioned by the diviner and they were like given like everything they needed, the goggles, the box, everything, to be able to capture a Medusan?
I don't know if they were commissioned, but I think that the Kazon at that point were probably just became more pirates than they were in Voyager, and whoever was looking for slave labor they had, and they would sell to the highest bidder. And in that case, it was the diviner.
They saw the void from the Orions going into the Federation.
That's actually an interesting theory in that, because like, all the technology they were using in that, the visors down to the box, and that was all stuff from the Alpha Quadrant from TOS era.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is old stuff too. So maybe they were just absolutely commissioned, and they were given everything they needed, plus the place to be and the tracker and all that, and they just delivered.
Good point. Yep. I loved that they showed this, and one of my favorite moments of this episode is just seeing the Medusans' movements. Like, we know that they're a hive mind, right? But the way that they move, it's like a dance, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the dance of the Medusans, and when they're going in that little circle, it's just so cool. And we've been using this word all night, but it's more tragedy. It's more tragic. Zero isn't only being kidnapped and removed from her people, but they're also being removed from a hive mind. Imagine what Hugh went through when Hugh was removed from the collective, right? To all of a sudden not have those voices. When the Borg Queen's been disconnected, we see how crazy she gets. Like she can't live without the voices. Man. Picard had to get used to it. He could still hear the voices however many years later First Contact is. So to be separated all of a sudden from something you've known since birth, since creation, has to be just devastating for a Medusan, and you really feel for them in that situation. And Tara brings up a great point. I want to talk about this too. We know the Kazon are not very smart, so it makes sense that they would be hired guns and not truly in charge. It's true. They needed guidance in Voyager, so that's where Seska came in. They are not the smartest of species, but so it is very feasible that the diviner did I
Hire
guess
them.
use them as hire them, hired guns,
Maybe
commission.
they did like a bounty thing where there was like, I want a Medusan.
Yeah.
First person on game.
Find me a Medusan. Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
you're saying that we've been saying tragic a lot, but that's the point of this episode, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
Because Dal's the one who's like, you know what? No one has a tragic backstory like
As
me. And everyone's like, you know what?
Like, guess what? We all do. Yeah. Yeah. Beat this. But I mean, even though it's tragic, like I said, it's really great to get to see Medusans in their natural element, right? It was really
Well,
cool.
I wonder how much tragic it is over pathetic, to be honest, in the idea that, pathetic in the idea that it's here like to make us cry and be, emotionally engaged. Because tragedy is the idea too that, it's guiding them toward their fate. And the fate is very important in tragedy. And I'm not sure right now this is where they're going, but I know we have a lot of things to do, but can we speak about the prelude, Chopin prelude at the beginning?
Oh.
Because so I love Chopin because I'm French, so duh. And I don't know that, but I do play a lot of piano once upon a time. So it's interesting because the fourth prelude was composed by Chopin to be played at his funeral. And there's an impending feeling of doom and death, and how it's built is that it goes towards annihilation basically. And even I think the last note on the partition is like played as it's dying. And I was like, wow, that's a bold choice.
It's also interesting that Janeway's the one who's like, this is what calms me and focuses me, right? Something that's a death. Like, I know people that used to listen to Mozart's Requiem to focus. And I was like, that's a very dark thing
and
to do.
And that's the other thing that was played at Chopin's funeral, by the way, Mozart Requiem and the Prelude Fourth. So just FYI.
This is why I love this group that we have that do this pod every week, because you're talking about Chopin and how it's it's dark, right? Like, and it's maybe alluding to death, but like you're thinking about that. Eric's thinking about Mozart, and then like the first thing that I thought of when she's playing this music and is how it's a throwback to First Contact, which is also like this impending, like sense of impending death and doom. Like we're probably going to go to Sector 001 and we're going to fight the Borg and we're probably going to die. And meanwhile, Picard's playing as Velios by that's not the, I think
Velios was French. Yeah, he's from my region too.
Yeah. So
like,
that's what I immediately thought of as well. Yeah.
Does it also speak to the state of mind that Janeway's in at that moment? Like, is this something that she's always had, or is it something that she's come back to as she's gotten older? Right? Like,
well, it could be alluding to the fact that she may be starting to think that Chakotay is not with us anymore.
Yeah.
Or that he's gone forever, that she may not find him.
Especially what they've discovered so far.
Yeah. Yep.
And and these by the way, so I went like, I wonder why they chose Chopin Prelude, like except the fact that it is inspiring like tragedy in the idea that is impending doom and death, like how it's played and where it's going. But it was played and one other time in Star Trek. I went to do my research. And it's played in the Masterpiece Society in TNG. It's like that society. It's in season 5, I think. Society, a colony that is like genetically advanced, and they refuse to evacuate because they would compromise their genetic. So there's a link to like genetic stuff in TNG. I need to rewatch that episode because I don't remember. I think Troy is in love with like one of the dudes, and then they don't want to evacuate, but like the Enterprise like take some of them and the rest like stays back and maybe dies and then never to be spoke about again, but they're humans, so no first contact. I mean, like, it's so I have to rewatch that episode because I'm like, there's no way there is not like some reference there.
And I mean, look who's writing this episode. It's this episode is written by the entire Prodigy writing room. That includes Aaron, who we know does not miss a beat and knows his Trek maybe better than us.
So I went to check the partition, by the way, because I don't want to say whatever. So the last dynamic marking in the piece is smorzando, which means dying away.
Jeez.
So yes, that episode is tragic. Absolutely.
speaking of tragic, let's move on to we get a bunch of backstory all at once here. We finally kind of figure out what happened with Chakotay and the Protostar, as well as the Diviner, and as we know her now, the Vindicator, and what happened on Solemn. I mean, this is, in a way, it's an info dump, but it's a really cool way that they did it. Giraffe, Chakotay, the Protostar, Diviner, Vindicator, go.
So Chakotay messed up, huh? Like I saw that, I was like, yeah, okay.
It's so interesting because I can't. We'll talk about it off, Mike. I can't. I have theories.
I'm just like, so was that on purpose? Because I do not think that it just happened to go for a wormhole and end up in the future for no reason.
It's
like
Chakotay.
I'm calling it. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so maybe he messed up. Okay, whatever. But I do hope there's like something else, because he's very smug at the end when he goes like sending back the ship, you know.
But he was smug because he screwed them over their plans, right? That's Chakotay.
Yeah, Chakotay does get that smug look every single time in Voyager.
I
want to know something similar every time without fail.
I want to know, when you saw the eagle guy on the bridge, did you go caca, caca, caca?
Wait, do you think that that's one of them?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, right?
I wrote it as my Easter eggs. I was like, that's one of the guys from
Peanut Hamper. I'm looking at you. Look what you've gone and
I
done.
hope it's that actual guy. I hope it's that actual guy, because that would be amazing.
That dude.
Yeah.
Aaron, let us know.
Going Starfleet.
Oh my
yes.
Oh man, that would be so good.
So yeah, the fact that he escapes and like sends back the ship, I think they're most probably gonna do a flashback episode. I hope we're gonna know more about what happened. They just cannot like leave us with this, and I'm sure there's like some like crazy backstory why he went back in time. They just don't happen to like further Protostar in the future for no reason. Come on.
I mean, I'm gonna end up eating my words next week, because you're gonna inevitably end up being right again. But I'm gonna say I think that when you're dealing with the drive that the Protostar has, and you're going at speeds that even Starfleet isn't used to, you're bound to have screw ups. And going through a temporal anomaly is definitely one of those, when you're using a baby star basically to create transwarp.
Didn't they say it was a test vehicle too?
Yes, they did. It's an NX. It's an NX.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's I want to know more about Solon, because I want to know about these, because basically what I see is that it's kind of the same world than the beginning of Strange New World.
I was thinking the same
right
thing.
And like they left them to kill each other and so on, but they're like way more advanced than the Federation too. How can they intervene with a civilization that is more advanced too? I mean, there's a lot of question about Solum. I want to know more about what's going on, why the Federation needed to intervene. Was that technical? Was that ideological? Was that really because they stand ground on the first the Prime Directive? Like, I have more questions than answer right now. But I have to say that their robes are so gorgeous.
Right.
Oh my god, like these robes that they have with like the intricate thing, and even like when you see young Gwendala with the cape, so beautiful.
No, that wasn't young Gwendala. That was young Vindicator.
Yeah,
that was Vindicator. Remember?
No. When they bring Zero in the box.
Oh yes,
and she's like wearing that like dark cape with like all the golden things. That's gorgeous.
The aesthetic of that planet is so like
beautiful.
The buildings and just everything felt like long lines and just like beautiful shapes. Oh my god!
Even the diviner, like the young diviner, like striking, beautiful. Like the animation is gorgeous.
Which is so funny because he looks so different. But you know what's crazy about that is that you can still see John Noble.
Oh, absolutely!
Right.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's absolutely wild.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
But yeah, there's a lot of question. How did they escape? Were they laid out by somebody? Is there like a spy? Was there like some Section 31 like intervention? Like so many questions. So many. But
wait, it can't be Section 31. Well, maybe maybe Murph's been on board the entire time, and that is our Section 31 agent
He was
Julian
on
was right.
Zamora.
Julian was right.
We saw him. But the question is, now that we know that Chakotay is over there, then
Is Chakotay still on Solemn?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Is
he's
Yeah.
on
in
Solomon.
that universe or that timeline, right?
Yeah.
In that timeline, yeah, the ship went back without him.
Like is this like a Marvel timeline thing where things branch off and like
Oh, it's wild. It's
Yeah.
too much.
it hurts
Oh,
my
listen
brain.
to me. Here we go. Here it is.
We don't know
Is it
when
baby?
it is, but Discovery is somewhere in the future.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
don't.
saying.
don't.
But they're
don't get-
so far in the future.
But
Right.
you don't know when Solomon
Oh yeah, that's
is.
true.
That's
I
actually-
don't know. Yeah.
And I will
Maybe
say,
it's just before the burn.
I'm not saying this because Giraffe said it, but the ship that they show that shows up first to Solemn looked very 32nd century.
Oh.
I'm just saying. It looked like it could be either a 32nd century ship or a Prometheus class.
You know,
And I don't know.
I don't
what
know.
triggered me is the fact that the Federation, they say the Federation needed them, and then they let them, and then they didn't help, and then there's this same feeling that you hear in Discovery about like these worlds that have been abandoned by the Federation
Because they got too big,
like-
yeah.
because they got too big and they couldn't intervene, they couldn't help, and then the burn happened and all this and all that and all that. So I know it's not gonna happen because Star Trek doesn't love Discoveries. They're not gonna branch Discovery into something else, even if I want it very much.
They
But
might.
why not? Do it. I dare you. Double dare you.
That would be amazing.
It would. No, it would. Hawk, before you go, I just want to read Rayner's comment. A wormhole to the future? Peanut hamper? I see a disco lower decks and Prodigy crossover. Replied by Tara with directed by Frakes.
He'd be the only
Yes.
one that could do it.
The only one who could pull it off. Absolutely. Hawk, your thoughts on all of this wild Chakotay, the Vindicator backstory?
I'm not sure what more I can add to it in that, but
Mhm.
yeah, you're right. This was a huge like kind of information dump. You
Yeah.
know, the fact that the Federation kind of stood still in that while the Civil War kind of raged on. I mean, that's kind of typical of the Federation, right? I mean,
Sure
like
is.
half the
Yeah.
population of that planet was, were divided, and that it's like some wanted to join, even though they they suggested that the Federation was kind of rural and like
Is that how the diviner got his name? Because they were divider?
Press that button. Press that button.
yeah.
Get off my bridge.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
That was for you, Brittany. Oh,
Yeah, but it was amazing. So like seeing like the many decades that this war raged on, just over the issue of joining the Federation, and again the Federation did nothing. They could do nothing. They couldn't take like
they could.
They
They
needed,
couldn't take what-
needed
they couldn't
plane
take-
diplomacy at that
they
point. right?
couldn't take a
You don't
position in
know.
it.
You
Yeah.
don't know if they did anything because like you see basically the story through like two people's eyes, and you don't know who they are in their
That's what I was
society.
thinking
That's
too.
true.
They
That's a
say
good
like
point.
they're the order, like what, like the Obsidian Order, like
Order
they're like a
66.
bunch of like they're like
From what
they're
I
a bunch
understood,
of weirdos that like decides to do stuff.
the Order came after the whole
After the destruction.
of the planet and that because they blamed the Federation and that for their for their lack of intervention.
They were
in the
fallen
actual-
order.
They
Right?
sound like an elite group of people though, and I wonder if they were on the bad side of the war. If like we have more questions than answer on what the Valna
Yeah, did
Cat
they
were
want
up.
did they want to be part of the Federation, or were they part of the people who were like, no, don't join them? That would be interesting to see.
Well, the Diviner himself was in favor of joining, from what I understand.
Early on. Yes,
Early
early
on,
on
yeah.
he was. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, where do we go from this? Chakotay, yeah, the whole story of him showing up. So he's probably back there on Salem. He might be dead. I don't know. He's probably dead.
I don't.
But
I
that
don't think
timeline is
he's
still
dead.
moving forward, right? From
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we don't.
Yeah.
It's,
so they
how
could
time
like
is
come
confusing.
back before the Protostar is sent and save him and the Protostar and change the timeline again.
Oh,
Unless
boy.
he gets in a time ship. I don't know what time. Like if they, it's very confusing.
Future man. Future man.
Matt asked, did
Chakotay
they
is Future
say-
Man.
He's Future Man. Did they say what sparked the war? I don't think the Federation did anything or not intervene. They did. So
Yeah.
basically the Federation came and said, "Hey, like, join the Federation," and because they were a warped civilization already, and it basically led to civil war because half of the people of Solemn didn't. Yeah, right.
Yeah, half
think-
of them
I
wanted
think-
to
This
join,
is
half
what
of them
this is what
didn't.
yeah this is what I gather from it, and that is, and if Starfleet had and the Federation had intervened in that, they would have just been colonizers.
But
You know.
they're the thing too that they say that they had already like internal conflicts that were
Right.
Yeah.
enhanced by the arrival of the Federation.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, like, again, I do think that the way the Diviner and the Vindicator speak, they speak like, people part of an elite that are just like, oh, this is all the Federation's fault. And I'm like,
It's
how
sort
much is
of
it your fault?
It sort of reminds me
Yeah.
of that generation ship from the Orville, where they had the two sects, where one was like, you know what, there's more out there than this, and then there's
Oh, it was like
Yeah.
the young versus the old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Sorry, Hawk, are you done?
I don't know. Let's see. How about the fact that the living construct was the last of that particular technology that they had?
So it's alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
This
It is
not
alive.
a name. It's alive.
Yeah. And like, so this is 32nd century technology that they were dealing with.
Maybe?
It makes me think of Zor yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Interesting.
I'm telling you, I'm seeing so many like Discovery themes, and I'm like, is it me? Because I can see Discovery in anything, as I can see the Kelvin verse in everything.
I knew that was coming. Yeah. No,
Aaron, hit us up in
I
the DMs.
there's definitely some Calvin verse. I mean, you made me say
Discovery.
it, Giraffe. You made
But
me
also
say
it does have Calvin first.
Yep. So,
It's all
Eric,
connected.
Maybe
I'm sorry, Hawk, were
Chakotay's
you
in
done?
I'm good. I'm good.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Maybe Chakotay switched timelines to the Kelvin verse. Maybe they're from the Kelvin verse, right? We don't
Okay,
know.
I have a theory about that.
could it be bunnies?
I already spoke about it, no?
Bunnies?
Bunnies.
No, the Kelvin verse. How it's very probable that there's some Kelvin verse.
Yeah,
Like-
I think we
Yes.
talk about that in every series, don't we?
No, in All Words stage.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, because
Yeah,
of
because
the uniform.
nacelle-
The
Else and stuff,
uniform
too.
is a beyond uniform. Yeah.
It is a beyond uniform. It is.
Beyond
It is.
uniform.
It is. The phaser isn't, but the uniform is.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna all the Kelvin verse music, all the Kelvin verse music that we've been served throughout this season.
It's true.
Come
It's
on.
true.
Yeah. Eric.
Let me start with the visual style. I love that it looked like a graphic novel come to life at this point. Like, this is the one that looks totally different than everyone else, because it's from their perspective, right? They're a totally different race. They're a new race for us, and it's a different time. So I love that they gave it this graphic novel look to make it seem a little more serious, a little more drastic. The stakes were higher for them because of what happened to their society. Oh God, it was beautiful. I love that those robots they're soldiers. Like
They are. Yep.
Not
they
They're
were
Terminators.
They were Terminators, which I yes, Terminators.
I had to do it. Sorry.
Chakotay sending off the protostar in that last moment, and his smug look was
They
classic.
animated the Chakotay smug look perfectly.
Perfect.
Chef's kiss.
Good job, animators. When you were talking about Chakotay causing all of this and him going into this time rift by accident, maybe it made me think of the grandfather paradox. Like, did they cause this wormhole that would have made them go back in time? And then, like, because of this new technology, like it's an NX series, like they're trying to figure it out, and then this starts this whole new process, which is where they are now. Like, my head hurts thinking of time travel.
Only the way Star Trek can make your head hurt, too.
Yeah. The Vindicators and the Diviners story, just beautiful. Again, tragic, but in a different way. It's them trying to save their species, or at least get vindication for their
Get off my bridge.
but that's what it is.
Just shut up.
Unfortunately.
And again, the Discovery thing with him being alone for so long and her coming.
Oh, I love the fact that they all went into the wormhole, and all of them in different ships. We don't know how many went through and how many went back at various times in the timeline. Like we know that the Diviner came back 20 years earlier than the Vindicator. Man, these names are going to get confusing when they add more people. But there's got to be more cells everywhere. Like, and it sounds like they didn't know where each one was, and it was just happenstance that she found the Diviner. Like that's incredible that they didn't have a way for them to communicate with each other.
Yeah.
And imagine narratively, the door they're opening. Basically, they can jump to any era of Trek because they have a cell there, and like they can open like as many doors as they want. Which like I thought that's what they were gonna do with like the Travelers in TNG and Picard, but like no.
I wonder because the Vindicators, Diviner's ship seemed to be the last one to go through. Wait, was it the first one to go through? That's why he was the furthest back. But there were still ships going through there that didn't explode.
I was so sure his went ahead of hers.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, his ships was ahead. Yeah.
I don't want to add any more to what you guys said because everything you're saying is great, and I don't have much more to add to that. But one thing that Trek has been doing over the past year is a metric F-ton of time travel. Picard takes a whole season in LA. Season 3 of Disco has to do with Discovery coming into the 32nd century, who was just recovering from what we knew from Enterprise, the temporal Cold War. Their time traveling in Prodigy. Honestly, Aaron has said on Twitter multiple times that this writer's room is in contact with all the writer's rooms are in contact with each other. I'm wondering if we are eventually going to get a massive crossover and finally get the temporal Cold War, like an actual story, because like I feel like watching this episode,
you cowards!
Watching this episode specifically, I've just been like, this is literally temporal Cold War. This is the Federation of the future where they have time ships trying to fix all the crap that Janeway messed up. Like, this is ripe.
Archer needs more.
I think too, there's like a very practical reason too. We're 60 years in the future of Star Trek already. And very soon we're going to be at the date of first contact, and they need to push the story. They need to push narratively the story in the future because the 22nd century is like just around the corner, technically, you know? So, they need to push it. And that's why Discovery jumped 1,000 years because
real good.
Because then you have more freedom of creativity, you know, and imagination.
Matt, yes, living as a sentient weapon. Yes, it is a sentient weapon for sure.
It is sentient. Yeah.
It's like Control.
Yeah.
Or Zora.
Oh yeah.
Yep. This was like I said, and Hawk said, this was an info dump. Anything else on this before we move to our final backstory? Jankom Pog, the Royal Tellarite Giraffe. Jankom Pog's backstory.
Hey, how long have I been saying we don't like Jankom Pog because he has no backstory? And finally we get one. And the fact that they managed to weave into the story why it speaks about himself at the third person is so good.
Yep.
So good because it's all trauma to like it was like beaten up into stopping to say I because he was speaking with a robot for so long, and you have to wonder how long again. Like there's always this question on Prodigy. It's like how long have they been doing this?
Hi Kang, welcome.
But I love the fact that he's pre-Federation, and that's so cool.
It is really cool. He's like an Enterprise era Tellarite.
He's even before we don't really know. Actually.
Yeah.
Like we have no idea, and the fact that they would just like pack the orphans on a ship and like send them to populate somewhere else until they arrive is crazy. But that explains why when he meets the doctor says, "Oh, that's the name of a runt."
Yeah,
because he has like he's like snow. He's snow for Tellarite. Pog.
I also wonder if the reason why he didn't grow full size is because he came out of the hyper chamber too early.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, maybe. And then he was like not very well fed and not, taken care of and all that.
And
but
was picked up by the Kazons and sold into slavery. Yeah.
But I do think too that they were just, taking all the abandoned and weak and differently able and just put them in ships and like ship them away, which is wow,
The
Again.
unwanted.
Yeah, again, an unwanted, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very funny, and then at the same time, as an adult, I found it super sad. But the fact that he sacrifices himself for the rest of he doesn't even know who they are. I suppose. I don't know. Yeah, that's a great backstory. Now they need to do something with it.
That's why he's That's why he's nobility, right? He sacrificed himself. That's amazing. He's not actually. He's not actually.
Yeah, I thought he always said he was nobility because he learned that the Taylor Prime was like a founding member.
Federation.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was this was a comic relief for this episode, thankfully. I know it gave us a little bit more in Jankom Pop. I don't know if I'd like him better as a character even after this.
I feel for him now.
Yeah.
I do feel a bit for him in that, but one thing you got to admit is that Jason Manzuka has more fun in the voice recording booth than the other guys, and that going through this entire sequence and that, that must have been amazing.
I didn't watch the end credits carefully enough, but I assume that the robot was, because it sounded like Bonnie, that was also Bonnie. It sounds like they just had a hell of fun together, like just so much.
Yeah. And that. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about it.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Eric.
I love this sequence. My kid loved this sequence. This was Wally and Eva together trying to fix things. This was them, and it was just a cute, funny relationship. It felt like a Pixar short. At time. Just because, hey, look, they're going to fix something blows up in his face. That's hilarious. My kid was laughing the whole time, so I thought it was good. The fact that he sacrificed himself at the end was such a heartwarming moment, especially for people he probably didn't know, like Draft said. And it was a good way to end such a heavy episode, right? Like a little bit of comedy, a lot of heart at that end. And yeah, loved it.
I wonder, I forgot what I was going to say. Damn, I was wondering something and I blinked. Wow. No, I know. I wonder how with this information, if we watch the previous episode, it gives a little bit more of information on why Jankom doesn't want to do things. I want to leave the ship because he never wants to leave the ship.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, no, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the writers probably knew going into this episode, like people are going to really like want something to connect to Jankom with because they haven't gotten anything. And they're like, this is it. And I did. It's like you feel for him. And like, and this is definitely like the part of the episode that my kids loved as well. And I made sure to remind Cecily, it's like when you beam Jankom down to open a door you can't open, and he just bangs on the dang thing.
Yeah, there's little heart.
His little heart.
Percussion. What do you call it? Percussion.
Percussive maintenance.
Percussive maintenance.
It's
so good, and they loved this scene as well. Yeah, I don't have much to add. I'm finally happy that we have something to like connect with him, but I agree with Draft. Do something. Poke Jankom some more. Give us more. We already talked about Kazon involvement, so I think we'll skip that. It could be a diviner plot. It could not be. Well, maybe we'll find out more about the Kazon. I think they do have more of a story to tell near these last few episodes. The last thing I'll say, it's on the outline, but we didn't talk about Janeway much. Janeway finally figures out that these kids aren't thieves and vandals and, buttheads.
Savages, she calls them. I will never forgive that from Prodigy. Come on.
They are not savages, but they are just kids who have, they're on the short end of the stick and they're in a bad situation, only to get judo chopped by
Kirk food. It was Kirk food.
No, that was straight up an Austin Powers judo chop.
It was.
It was. I mean, this is good now, though, right? Like that Janeway finally has the information. Anybody can go. This is kind of off the beaten path here.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit like, okay.
Took you long enough too, like.
Yeah, I don't know the way they're like, oh, see, now we have the information. I was like, okay, I'll accept it. I'll accept it. And the way they're like, oh, the diviner like sent. I mean, that was a lot of information, very easily found. I don't know. I'm. Uh, yeah, Tasha Yar involvement. I don't
23
know.
minutes. 23 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that nobody is really keeping an eye on that dude that they randomly found on an asteroid.
Dude,
it's just like,
right? Do you know how when anytime it could be ambassadors from another planet, it could be a Klingon, it could be someone that John Luke is best friends with, there was still a security detail outside their quarters. Come on.
on a giant ship.
Maybe she's his detail.
Giant. Huh?
I wonder if she was the detail for him.
The ensign?
I don't know.
The bridge ensign?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know. Like, I'm like,
That is a disrespect to Harry Kim. You take it back.
hey, we
Maybe
know what
she-
happened in the brig, huh? Like, they always get judo chopped and so on, so they never do their job very well. Yeah, I'm just like, on the Dauntless, I mean, come on. Like, there's no security, there's no nothing, there's nobody, like, guarding the door.
You
there's
know, Jellicoe is going to come take command of that ship and be like, what kind of ship have you been running here? Like, come
New
on.
shift.
Delta shift. Let's go.
and then the captain just gets, like, judo chopped from the back, like Janeway. I mean, man.
I know that was a little bit unbelievable for Janeway. Janeway's better than that. She
come
literally has
on.
been on like Borg cube after Borg cube.
Yeah.
She knows how to watch her back. Yeah.
I'm convinced she had like a pair of eyes in her back. Like, it's not possible. So I'm like, that's all a little bit easy, but okay. I'm going
kid
into
show.
the next
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going
yeah.
into the next episode with like something. Like,
Intrigue,
I'm ready.
yeah.
I'm like, ooh, what is going to happen? You know, how Janeway is going to kick their butt? I don't know, but that's happening. You know that. Don't judo chop Janeway with no consequences. Come on.
I agree.
Ask the
Yeah.
Borg.
Yeah.
Go
Go ahead.
Sorry. Hawk, did you want
No,
to
go
go
ahead.
before me?
I'm trying to think. I had something I was going to say. I can't remember.
I can go.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, like, the only thing that bothered me about this is Janeway going into that room being like, oh, and the other two, like the Vindicator and her robot just being like, oh?
Yeah,
That was
like
such a cheesy moment, and that was the only thing I was just like, what? Like, it just seems so weird.
I don't understand why she
She also-
stayed in her like Vaona cat form, just
She-
chit chatting
but
in the
also-
place. I'm like,
Janeway also just went in the room without like ringing the doorbell.
The
and
door
being-
chime.
Yeah.
She is the admiral. I'm sure she
But
has.
still, that's
Yeah.
rude.
Like, you're not wrong. You're
it's
not
all
wrong.
it's all a little bit easy.
It was
Yeah.
very
Okay.
cliche,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that was a weird way to end it. Judo chop.
Judo shot. Oh.
Like I said, little
yeah, go ahead, Hawk.
little cliche, but then again, the diviner wasn't exactly a prisoner on that ship. They thought,
No.
he was a victim that they were helping.
Yeah.
Still, Picard
Very
would have had
con. Am I a
Picard
prisoner?
would have had a detail.
I still find it a little unbelievable about how lax they are on DNA screenings and that, not knowing that ensign was a Vanukat.
She might have
You're
changed her
not
DNA,
kidding.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, advanced.
There
I'm gonna let
science,
that one
blah,
go.
blah, blah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let that one go.
Again, kids show. Let's move
Yep.
on.
I mean, she hit a wall dreadnought in a table on the
Which
Which
is
is still
Transformer.
pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
We just got the trailer for Beast Wars today. Perfect timing.
I'm just
Beast
like, I
Wars.
just want, like, technically, even if you have all the science to like hide it from the sensors, sensors.
Sensors.
How do you physically bring a whole giant dreadnought
You
inside a ship?
You transport it.
Yeah, but then they know that you transported something.
But it could be
Like
a
a
table.
list.
Maybe it's a home.
Maybe
table
it's from Home Goods.
A chia pet.
It's an apothecary table.
That's by itself. But that's totally what that thing they have in Discovery, like the matter that moves
Yes.
around,
Yeah.
like
And I was
transformable
thinking
matter.
the same thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
because like the way it moves out of the table is like I see you.
Any final thoughts? I didn't put an Easter egg this week because I didn't think there were any, but everybody said that they had Easter eggs. So
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Janeway listening to Preludes, piano piece, was kind of a callback to Where Silence Has Lease from season 2 of TNG, when Picard is in his study listening to Eric Satie's the first Gymnopedia.
Gymnopedia, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I would also just add what I mentioned earlier. It's also a bit of a throwback to First Contact.
Yeah, First Contact with Berlioz, yeah. Everybody's like into like French. I mean, Chopin was Polish, but French by adoption, right? French music somehow, like, okay. And old stuff. Apparently, French people didn't do anything since like the early 20th century. It's just like, we stopped there.
And you had Daft Punk. You know?
Janeway talking about Molly was a Easter egg, I guess.
Yes,
Molly.
her Molly.
Yeah. So the box and the goggles from TOS. The Eagle guy from Lower Decks. And that's true. Oh, and I wrote Kirk Fu. But I had said everything, actually.
Yeah.
I think I had nothing else. Yeah.
Any other Easter eggs? Good. Let's rate this one out of 10 bowls of Nutrigoop.
Oh, no.
Giraffe.
I'd say 9. It's a very good episode. I think the end of it easy. Good. It's not even a filler episode. I want to say a filler episode because,
but
like,
it's really
the action
not, right?
It's a backstory episode that is.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to do a filler episode.
Agreed completely. Yeah.
Yep. Give us more stories.
Yep. Hawk.
I give it a 9.5. Like, even if the ending was a little weak in that, at least it's kind of moving that plot along, at a rapid pace. I guess filler episode or flashback episodes, it was hard to categorize this one in that, but yeah.
Pure exposition.
Yeah.
Listen, if you want to talk about filler, all you need to do is go and watch the season 2 finale of TNG. All you need to do. Literally. Or any and a lot of SG1 episodes too.
Yeah. But again, like this was such a well-written episode. Like, I was surprised. I was looking at the opening credits and I was like, there are 7 writers on this episode. Like, what the hell?
It's the entire writing team.
Yeah, so good.
Yep.
Because I marked things only in 0.5, so I'm going to give this 9.5. If I did in 0.1s, I would have gone higher than that. Because really, the only thing that bothered me was the Janeway bit at the end. God, the judo chop. And her being like, "Oh, look at these random people." Bothers me. But everything else, like animation story wise, for each of these, I love these types of these little stories within a big story type thing, and everything was perfect. Like the music, the animation, the different styles of animation really got me. I love that they did that just to give a different feel for different stories. The fact that they did a Pixar-esque story just warmed my heart. This was a great episode. I would give it a 10 if they didn't have that little Janeway thing at the end.
Yeah.
And I like how all their backstory are just here to make Dahl feel like he's part of the group.
Part of the crew.
Yeah.
This is
And you have to say too, it's beautiful how after all of their stories, the proto drive comes back on.
Oh, and they let Rock do it.
And they let Rock do it. It was so cool.
I just want to know Murph's backstory because he went like,
yep,
and
same.
Like, dude, what?
What?
That is
Section 31.
Yep.
Section 31. Over on YouTube, the collective gives this from Matt a 10 out of 10. All the feels. A Wild MC appears, also gives it a 10 out of 10. Tara, a 9.7 out of 10. Maggie Light, a 9 out of 10. Kang, an 8.5 out of 10. Wayner, 10 out of 10. Rude Parakeet, this was a 10 out of 10 for me. I love backstories.
Damn straight.
Yep.
I was going to give this a 10 the entire night, and then you guys started giving it some 9s, and then I'm seeing all these 10s in the chat. So I'm sticking to my original 10 out of 10. I love this episode. It's a really good episode, and you feel for every single one of these kids.
I want to change to a 10.
Change to a 10. You got it. Eric's a 10 now, too. It's a 10. It's a 10. The judo chop is still a judo chop, and it's still hilarious, even though it's it's still judo. It's amazing. wait till my tweet tomorrow about that. It's going to be great.
Make a GIF out of it.
I did. Oh, it's already scheduled. It's going to be great. 10 out of 10. Let's get into the subspace to poll and mailbag.
Hailing frequencies are open.
Who wants the Topol tonight?
Me.
Eric, take the Topol.
We asked Trek Twitter what they thought about this episode, and they had this to say. 76% said it rocked. 3% said 0 issues. 7% said Vindicta who? And then 14% said the Vinbor. Oh, you 14.
Wow.
Come on, man. 14?
Divine board, like diviner, divine board. Yeah.
I wonder if it's because people wanted to know what was going to happen, because like literally they just kicked like the Tal Shire's butt into oblivion, and they're still there.
They're still in the neutral zone. Yeah.
They're still there, and like the
Yep.
Romans are just like doing nothing. Like,
They gotta
Licking
fix
their
your ship,
wounds.
man. They gotta fix it.
Like in their wounds.
yeah, I'm just like, okay, I understand that like people wanted to see something happen,
Yeah.
but it's a good episode still.
Yep.
Next
agreed.
week.
Yep. Eric took the Topol, so we'll keep going back around. Giraffe, can you take Haven's mailbag, please?
Absolutely. Heaven wrote, I think this week's episode was the most character development we have ever seen in any episode of Star Trek ever. Please tell me I'm not the only one who shed a tear for Rock's story.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You're
Also,
not.
fun fact time.
Oh, wait.
Fun fact time.
For all the gamers, Jankom's robot was voiced by Mara from the Netflix She-Ra series from 2019.
Yep. I love that show. I love that show so much. Huck, could you take Chris's, please?
Sure. Chris wrote, great googly moogly. What a great episode. I feel as if we are bonding with the crew as they bond with one another. The way the story is developing is absolutely fascinating and might be the most intriguing out of the new Trek. All they need is Tom Paris to take care of those Kazons.
Damn right.
I agree.
Yes.
Yep.
The cleaner.
The cleaner Tom Paris. Dude, cleaner Tendi, cleaner Tom Paris crossover.
I watched
Give
that
it to me.
show. I watched that show.
I'd watch that.
much.
I'd watch it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Eric, can you continue with MCs, please?
I'm sorry for taking this draft. MC wrote, Rock is my precious cinnamon roll, and I want to protect her at all costs. I love getting the backstory on everyone, especially how they explained how so many Alpha Quadrant species ended up in the Delta Quadrant. I was especially surprised by Jankom. I know he was older than the others, but wow. Glad to see Admiral Janeway getting hip to what is going on, even if it's not going well for her right now.
I have a theory.
Is it bunnies?
It's bunnies.
Yes.
MC's mailbag just gave me my theory. You know, I've been talking about like, oh, all of a sudden, like the Kazon are everywhere. This could be another ramification of what Voyager did to the Borg transwarp network and disabling the Borg. What if the Kazon basically, you know, scuttlebutted all of like, not scuttlebutt, like salvaged, you know, and found like transwarp technology, and even though they're not that smart, like they were able to get it on board their ships.
Seska has the big hat.
Seska.
That's why.
Seska.
Yeah.
And
Isn't Seska dead though? Right?
Could you imagine if this series is happening because of Voyager's what they did with all the transwarp stuff? Like this is
Yeah.
the result.
Yes.
Like
Yeah, absolutely.
But for me, that's totally what it is. This
Yeah.
is like we are seeing
The
what's
ramifications.
going
Yeah.
on in the Delta Quadrant. Now the Borgs are gone, and that created a vacuum of power, and basically that's all because of Voyager. And I think there's a very beautiful parallel to do with Solom, like, and what these Star Trek ships, like the devastation they leave behind them, basically
Yeah.
when they just trying to go home. But absolutely, yeah.
I hope we get like this is because of what happened in Voyager, that we get to see the rest of that crew trying to own up to all this stuff, not the other word, that they screwed up because of that series. Oh, that would be amazing. I want to see Harry Kim with a third and
Another
fourth pip.
Yep. Yep.
Captain Harry.
Captain Harry. Well, we know he eventually gets those if the future that Admiral Janeway still comes to pass. Eric, you read MCs, right?
Yep.
I'll take NYRLIT. He wrote, I enjoyed the backstories, especially the sleeper ship explanation and how Jankom got to the Delta Quadrant. The episode cements that Rock is my favorite Prodigy character. As for the Diviner's backstory, does this mean Chakotay is trapped somewhere in the future? Yes, it does. Yes, it does indeed. Indeed, it does. Dreff, take us home with Wainers, please.
Wayner wrote, these last 2 episodes have been amazing. I feel like I'm watching an episode of Voyager, getting so drawn into it. We know the crew better without it taking over the whole episode. I think it was pretty quick for backstories. My one complaint was Jankom Pog referring to himself in the third person through the entire scene of the ship.
But now we know why.
Yes.
We know why.
Now we know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's messed up.
Sad. Yeah.
That got boring after the first 2 times, but it was still a great episode.
Indeed. And speaking of great episodes, that's going to do it for this episode of Strange New Pod. Go ahead, Giraffe.
Come to LACon, and I didn't say that, but I'm going to add it. Buy the new Star Trek Explorer magazine.
Buy the new Star Trek Explorer magazine. You won't be disappointed. I'm going to throw this out there real quick. If you're not buying them, also buy the new Star Trek comics that are coming out. If you want more Trek in your life, the Lower Decks 3-episode run just ended. Buy all 3 of those. The new Cisco Star Trek ongoing series is out. There's 2 issues in. The Stargazer series wrapped, also very good. Buy Star Trek comics. If you're lacking, if Prodigy's not your thing, read some comics.
The Lower Decks ones are perfect.
It's
perfect.
a golden era for Star Trek. We have comics, we have magazines, we have new shows. Let's go.
Tara was also a first timer and says, this was fun. My first time. We had so much fun having everyone in the chat tonight. Thanks for being hopping as always. It'll be hopping next week when we're back for 117 of Prodigy. Can't wait. That's going to do it for this one, guys. Join us for happy hour, 7 p.m. Eastern next week. For Hawk, for Eric, for Giraffe, I am Julian. I say live long and prosper. Majram, good night.
Thanks for beaming into our podcast today. If you want to keep the hailing frequencies open, you can subscribe on Apple and Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. Like what you hear? Put in a good word with Starfleet and leave us a 5-star review.